Hey, what's up, lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss the 2009 comedy film directed by Todd Phillips, The Hangover. So this is part one of a trilogy. It was never intended for this to be a trilogy, but the first one did so well at the box office. It grossed like, what, 400 something million dollars back in 2009, and then it just spurred two other sequels. Obviously, if it makes money, you're going to milk the cow. So this stars Justin Bartha, Zach Galifianakis, Ed Helms, Bradley Cooper, Ken Jeong is in this. Some of other people are in this, and what's interesting is all three films are roughly about an hour and 40 minutes, and the pacing is just so well done. It goes from one thing to the next, boom, boom, boom. Let's recap. Let's figure out what's going on. Let's figure out what the next step is. Jokes do not translate well into this 2023 era. 2009, those were acceptable jokes, R word jokes, F word jokes, fat jokes. Like those are things that are not a thing anymore. Racist jokes, the stuff is not a thing that we state within mainstream media anymore. That's we have standards now. It's not a thing. So taking those aside, the other jokes, the other physical comedy aspect of this, the pacing, the twists and turns, who did what when kind of a thing, whose baby is that, did I marry a stripper, who pulled out my tooth, why is Mike Tyson's tiger in our bathroom, those things are absolutely hysterical. I remember watching this June 2009 with friends in theater, and we were laughing our asses off. And what's interesting is that there's like 3 or 4 like songs sung in this film. It's not technically a musical, but 3 or 4 songs are actually sung, and by these main characters. So I am going to classify this as a musical, especially the fact that Ed Helms is literally playing the piano and singing while they're waiting for the tiger to eat the steak filled with roofies to pass out to bring back to Mike Tyson's house. So the concept of this film is that there's a hangover. So there's 4 people come together for a bachelor party in Las Vegas. The Justin's character Doug is going with his 2 friends, and Helms' character, Bradley Cooper's character, as well as his fiance's younger brother, Alan, played by Zach Galifianakis. So the 4 of them go. Zach tries to buy ecstasy from a drug dealer. Turns out it was roofies, and nobody can remember what happened the night before, and Doug is missing. So it's a quest. It's figuring out, like I said, whose baby is this? Where'd my tooth go? Why is there a tiger? Those are like the big plot points. But then like we go to a wedding chapel, then we go to a police station. There's a tasing scene, which is absolutely hysterical. Things happen, and it's questing. So we start, the first scene of this movie starts in the at the end, basically, with Bradley's character calling Doug's fiance, saying we screwed up and these things. And you see 4 people, but it actually wasn't Doug in the background the entire time. It was somebody else. It was the drug dealer whose name happened to be Doug as well. So having the rivalry with Ken Jeong's character and that Chinese mafia that they were going through, winning back 80 grand via counting cards at a blackjack table. Like it was quick. It was nonstop. It was one thing after another. It was very funny. But again, certain jokes don't translate well into this current 2023. And you got to think, next year, 24, is the 15th anniversary of this film. It's just so weird to think of time as linear, because I remember seeing this in the theaters 14 years ago with friends, June 2009. It's weird. It's very weird to think about it. So the musical comedy film that it is, The Hangover, directed by Todd Phillips, I'm very happy that he actually did all 3. It's not common for the same director to do multiple sequels of the same project, so I was happy to see that. Todd's done a lot of great comedy films, since then as well, and he did Due Date with Zach Galifianakis and Robert Downey Jr. 2010's Due Date. We talked about that recently as well. So it's neat. It's neat seeing projects worked on by familiar co-workers. I've talked about that many times. But what was the other thing I want to say? Oh, the woman who plays Ed Helms' girlfriend in this, whose name I can never remember. She plays Susan Heffley in Diary of a Wimpy Kid. So this came out in 2009, and the first Wimpy Kid where she plays Susan Heffley came out in 2010. So to have her go from this very foul-mouthed individual character in 2009 back to a, mother of 3 running a household in 2010, it's very interesting watching the dynamic of her talent. It's Very cool, very convincing in both parts, and I can't remember her name, and I feel like an absolute idiot that I cannot remember her name. She's great. I love when she screams. It's very like, how dare you? Like you're supposed to feel guilt when she screams. It's hysterical. Love it. On to the next review. Mucho mahalo.